Internet, happy Thanksgiving! So Robert and I are going home for Thanksgiving, so this video was initially going to be on all the G code to run the printer, but in this video we're just going to cover G commands, and we're going to cover M commands next week so that we can hang out with our families. And so I can stop recording this because it's 10:12 on Wednesday right now, and I still got to drive 7 hours back to Vegas, and I'm still editing the video. I got to render it, upload it to YouTube, and then I got to start driving. So wish me luck. Hopefully everything goes okay. But let's get to the video.
Hi, my name is Robert. If you don't know me by now, I'm the guy who made the incredible engineering feat of putting a penny inside of a cube. Yes, that's a penny, this is a cube, and the penny's inside, and it's strapped, and it shakes around, and it's awesome. But besides that, that's not what we're here today. We're here today to learn about G-code.
So I see you've already met Robert. So G-code is beneficial not only for the start and end commands, but you can actually program the 3D printer through the G-code terminal so you don't have to use the SD card or user interface to move or use the 3D printer. And we'll be showing you all of that today.
You need to learn how to read G-code before we can teach you all of the magical wonders of G-code. Because unlike a book, G-code is literally just one letter followed by a string of numbers.
Much like algebra, where you have the function f, and it's followed by the variable x, which can be a number. When you change that number, it'll change what the function does. That's what G-code does as well.
The standard necessary G-code functions to run your printer are G, M, S, F, X, Y, Z, and of course, my favorite, E. Just cause, I don't know why it's my favorite, it just is. There are a couple more G-code functions that I did not list, because they are not necessary for standard uses of your 3D printer. But if you would like to know them, there is a link in the description. Go check it out.
Now most of these work in conjunction with one another to provide yourself with a large array of available commands to run on the 3D printer. Now before we move on to the actual G-code window itself, we need to make sure that the cap lock is on for your printer. Because the printer...
Don't worry. You're not yelling at your printer. Don't worry.
The printer won't understand lowercase letters when you're writing the G-code. So, let's get to the printer. First thing you're going to do is turn your printer on and attach it to your computer so you can open a G-code terminal. The first code I'm going to teach you is G1. G1 by itself doesn't do anything if you return it to the printer. So what you have to do is you have to give it an argument of an axis. And you can give it an argument of axis, like say X, and I give it the number 20. Now because when the printer starts up, the position it is at is 0 to it. So if the printer was over here, and I did G1 X 40, because its current position thinks it's 20, it's going to try to move 20 to the right, but it can't, because that's not possible. So I'm going to go G1 X negative 40. So it's currently running a little slow right now, so let's speed it up. Along with the axis argument, you can pass a feed rate argument. And so you do G1F and you can define the feed rate. I'm going to put the feed rate at 15,000. Now I can do G1 X negative 20, and it'll move to where it thinks negative 20 is. So if I wanted to move the Z axis, I can do G1 Z50, and I can do G1 Y 80. Now this also works for the extruder, so if I do G1 E20, you can see the extruder move. And what's really interesting about this is that I can run all of the axes at the same time. So if I want to do G1, X0, Y0, Z0 while extruding to 0 as well, all of the axes will move in relation to each other, and they'll move in respect to the slowest axis. So those are the two arguments you can pass through the G1 command. You can pass an argument of feed rate, or you can pass an argument of an axis. And then the argument you have to put into the axis is the position on that axis and the argument for feed rate is the speed at which you want it to move in millimeters per minute. So now we're moving on to the more important G command, G28. G28 homes all of the axes. So now every single motor knows where it's at in relation to the printer. So if I do G1Z50, it will move 50 millimeters in respect to the bed. And if I do G1X225, it'll move as far as right as possible on the x-axis because that's the limit of the bed from the limit switch. Now moving on to G29. G29 is our probe command. This is what we use to auto bed level the printer. So I just homed the printer once again. We are now moving to the command G90. G90 is absolute positioning on the printer, which is default when it turns on. So if I type G1Z15, the printer will raise 15 millimeters. But if I tell it to do G1Z16, it'll only raise 1 millimeter. And that's because everything is in respect to 0 on all of the axes. So now if I type G91, I have switched it to relative positioning. This means that everything is now in respect relative to its current position in space. So if I do G1Z5, it'll move 5 millimeters up, but if I do it again, it'll just keep moving 5 millimeters. And if I do G1Z-5, it'll move down 5 millimeters every single time I give it the command. So the last G command I'm going to show you is G92. I usually only use G92 for the extruder, but it can be used for all axes. G92 allows you to set the position of an axis regardless of its physical position in the printer space. To give you a visual example of what this looks like, I'm going to move this all the way to the right. Now, because the motors are off, the printer doesn't understand where it is physically in space. So I move it all the way to the right. I know that this is about X225. So if I run G92 X225, I just told the x-axis that it's as far right as it thinks it can go. So if I do G1 X0, I'll move all the way back to the zeroed axis. But if I'm in the middle of the bed, it currently thinks it's at 0. And I do G1 X -20, it'll keep trying to move this way. But that's because I haven't told it where its new position is after I physically moved it. So G92 is beneficial because the 3 axes, X, Y, and Z, know that these little switches are 0. But there is no switch on the extruder. So the extruder needs to be told by us that whatever its position is, whatever it thinks it's at, whether it's at E300 or E5000, if you run G92 E0, you will reset the position of the extruder and you can then restart another code. I hope this video helps you understand everything that you wanted to know about G-code on the 3D printer.
G-code is pretty exciting.
G-code is pretty exciting.
If you, the viewer, have any questions about this video or suggestions for future videos, please leave a comment down in the comment box.
Okay. If you liked this video,
which you did, I know you did, you can't lie to us,
and want to see more like it, make sure you click that subscribe button.
Click it!
Oh, this is getting so funny.
And thanks for watching.